And now we present to you America's quintessential iconoclastic anomaly. Wow. In talk radio, your host, Joe Cristiano.
Yep. I always say that, this is not a regular talk show program because we really don't utilize a format that most talk shows subscribe to, I guess. Most of them take, issues or incidents and then they comment on them. I think that's interesting and it's fun to listen to and it's interesting to hear other people's point of view. But in this case, I think in these times, I should say, I'm not certain of what value that is over entertainment. And so I consider myself not so much a talk show host, but someone who is espousing a philosophy that I want people to understand and see if it applies to them, if they feel that it's right for them. I think it's right for everyone, not only here in Tulsa or in Oklahoma, not only the United States, but the entire world. What I subscribe to has no geographic boundaries, no ideologic boundaries. It's just one way of thinking. And that's why I keep on saying, I keep on beating a dead horse. You hear that all the time. I beat a dead horse, but I go further than that. I exhume the body and beat it up all over again. You know that. Yeah. And I figured the other day, I was just thinking to myself, I always think to myself because no one else will listen to me. But I don't think I speak. I think I pontificate. Don't you think so?
Yeah, you're kind of like the Emperor Pompey.
That's right. Thank you very much, Jim. You're not getting paid a dime more for that. Great. You know that.
Wow, he's an emperor.
But no, I find myself pontificating. I'm at the coffee shop, and I am pontificating. What's wrong with me? But I've decided since I cannot break myself, I can't break myself to this habit.
Please don't use words like that. People don't know what that means.
I know that. I can't even spell that word. That's what scares me.
Exactly.
But I've decided since I pontificate and I do not talk, calling me sir or which I dislike immensely because it's, I don't know, I just don't like it. And Mr. Cristiano makes me feel old, like, be nice to the old man before he dies, I've decided everyone that I know and people who call to the station should from now on refer to me as Your Eminence.
Ooh, wow.
Well, if you pontificate...
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, it sounds right.
Your
right?
Eminence.
I don't know what that means either, but it sounds right.
Not your enema, but your eminence.
Not enema, right?
Hey, you know what? You beat Obama to the punch.
Yeah.
Well, he'll have to look up to me, I'll tell you that.
There you go. There you go.
Talking about exhuming, the body and then beating it all over again, I tell you, I do this all the time. But every time I do that, I learn insight. I teach myself insight. And I say, I walk Riverside with my doggies and stuff, and I wound up talking to myself. And I really, in doing so, things come to light that normally would not. Let me give you an example. Last week, I was talking about accessories to murder. If voters know that a particular politician is very aggressive militarily and has no qualms in nuking everybody and everything because we're America, USA, that garbage, and we vote for them, when that politician gives the okay to bomb or to drones and kill people, is not that politician an accessory to murder? I go further. I say, well, if you are a voter and you knowingly understand that person's political persuasion and you know the person's a war hawk and has no regard for anyone around the world other than USA, then are you not an accessory to murder? Now, this is what I brought up last week. Now, I don't want people to complain and say, you're not going to call. My mother voted for him. My mother's not a murderer. Don't go there. I'm just saying I want you to think about that because, and I said, well, there's got to be an end game to this. There's got to be a moral to this thing, not just to say it and to leave it because it's too easy for people to say, well, that's the way it is or I didn't know, all this garbage, right? But there really is a problem when we know people, we vote for a neocon that's real aggressive militarily. Well, you take McCain, that guy who's suffered in Vietnam, but now he wants to go back and bomb everybody else. I don't understand that guy. I mean, the guy's a waste, a total waste. And he's dangerous not only to our society. McCain is dangerous to the world. And I'll mention his name because he is a dangerous man. And he contradicts himself constantly. And he's supposed to be a Republican, but then he doesn't know what the hell he is. Right? But let me take this further. Because I want this thing to come home. I want it to have an end game. I want it to say, there was a reason why we talked about this. Now, if we say that if you voted for a politician that you knew
Your doctor
was...
says you're...
Uh-oh, what happened there? Oh, some girl just walked in. All right. Okay. If we voted for a person that was... we knew has his finger on the button. I mean, he just can't wait, right? Then I say we are an accessory to murder. Because we're murdering people, who are of absolutely no harm to us. Now, we say they're harmless. Oh, he belongs to the Taliban. We don't even know what the Taliban is. But, we kill him, because he supports, he's an insurgent, So we got to kill them, without trial. And I won't go there. We'll talk about that some other time. But what about the parents of the children who have that same mentality and they transfer that mentality down to their children? And as a result, their children feel that the United States is right, everyone else is wrong, and we have the right to go invade other countries, even without their permission, and kill people that we don't particularly like. Now, is not the parent of that child somewhat complicit in murder? Don't hang up yet. Get your hands off the knob. Don't turn the channel yet, because I'm going someplace with this. I want you to think about that. And there's an end game to this conversation. What about the teachers who remain ignorant and refuse to know exactly what was going on, refuse to understand history as it really was, but they memorize what they've been told to memorize, become teachers, and then they teach that same watered-down swill that they call history. And the kids actually learn to believe that what is in that history book is actually what happened. And as a result, we have a right to go and kill these people. It's an indirect indoctrination. Do not the teachers, are they somewhat culpable in all of this for being ignorant, for not knowing history as it really was? Should we not teach history as it really was? Should we continue to teach our young people that are in school, impressionable young people, that people came from a third world country to learn to fly airplanes into towers in the United States because they did not like our freedom? Now, if they're not smart enough to know that that is garbage, they shouldn't be teaching, and they know that. But if you approach a teacher who teaches history, especially elementary school, and you suggest something that is a part of history that really occurred, truly occurred, the reality of it, they don't say, well, geez, I didn't know that. They get angry. Are not the teachers who are indoctrinating these kids with the swill that they learned, even when they're approached and say it's wrong and they refuse to learn, are they not culpable? Are they not responsible? As responsible for our boys and girls, men and women, being killed there? And what about the parents? What about the parents who teach that same thing, persist in teaching what they have learned in school where they know it's wrong? Deep down inside, they know it's wrong. If they had a half a brain cell working, and then they say things like, I'm proud of my Johnny or my Alice. They're serving our country in Afghanistan. In other words, I sent my son or my daughter to go to Afghanistan to kill people because I believe in the war on terror, whichever that means. And there's no such thing, folks. Are those parents not somewhat responsible? Are they not an accessory to murder? And you can actually draw a conclusion to say that the brainwashed kids that go there are unknowingly accessories to murder. You understand that? Now, I'm coming to a reason to all this. There's a reason for all of this. Then you see bumper stickers that say, support our troops. Why do you think they say that? It's like saying, Joe, tell me, do you enjoy beating your wife? What kind of answer do you give? No, yes, you can't. There's no answer to it. Support our troops. You see them all over the place. See, the problem is that we couch words in such a manner that it blocks our method of thinking. It blocks our ability to think. And what we should say is, yes, we support our troops, and I support our troops 100%. I do not support what they're expected to do. I do not support what our government forces them to do. Now, once we add that on, it changes the complexion of the conversation. But we don't want to go there because we're so damn dumb. USA, we can't go there. The bottom line of this, we say we have a moral crisis in this country. We have a moral crisis. Where do you think it comes from, folks? We talk about moral crisis, but we never know what we're talking about. We never know. We never know what we're talking about when we say moral crisis. Never. All right, let's go for a break. We'll come back on that. Welcome back to the University of Logic, better known as Cristiano's Conservatory, correcting convoluted conversations. And I mean that, folks. I go through a lot. I don't want anyone to sympathize with me, by the way. I go through a lot of torture during the week because these things bother me. These issues truly bother me, and that's why I am here. I am here on radio because these issues bother me. I cannot have a daily program, in my opinion, because daily programs are sort of talk programs that talk about, oh, did you hear what so-and-so said this morning? And they said this and that, and they comment on it, and they laugh back and forth, and it's a fun thing to do. And now they have ideological reasons why they say what they do, but I listen to them. They're very good. These people are incredibly talented. I don't possess that talent. But what I do is I consider me a person who is absolutely tortured during the day, okay? And not by my wife. I love my wife, and she's the one that keeps me sane. I mean that. In fact, she's here in the studio right now, together with my entourage, as I call them.
Does she deserve a Purple Heart Award, or?
No, well, it would have to be so big it would crush her. Halo, right? She says a halo. Absolutely, no, absolutely, she does. I mean, she has to listen to this stuff all the time, and but I am really bothered by our ideological reasoning in this country, and I find it so upsetting when I'm speaking to someone who I know is a lot more intelligent than I am, and I truly mean that. I mean, they're more intelligent. They got better brain waves. They went to better schools. They understand stuff. I mean, they can read stuff, and I can't. And then they say stupid things. They say stupid things when it comes to idea. Because what they do is they abandon what they know, what they actually know, and they transfer to a new realm, and that realm is what they believe. You know, can you imagine having an engineer build a bridge not based on fact, on proven formulas and whatever, but they built the bridge on what they believed would be best. Not one bridge would be standing up. They would all collapse after the first car went over them. So it seems that they're logical, they're smart, they're intelligent, wonderful people. But once it comes to certain subjects, they go from knowing to believing. And when I say believing, and forget this, believe in God stuff. I'm not going there. What I'm saying is that once you go into the belief category, you're going into I don't know category. You cannot believe and know at the same time. Impossible.
Well,
and I've said this 1,000 times.
How about, Joe, the guy that has to cross the bridge afterwards? He's got to believe the guy did it right,
Oh, that's right. Yeah, if you made it over, yeah, he believed the guy. He built it right. You're absolutely right, Gary. Yeah, absolutely.
Turns into fact.
That's right. It turns into fact. And I've given this example innumerable times, where if we know something, we don't believe. 1 and 1 is 2. Do you believe 1 and 1 is 2? No, I know 1 and 1 is 2. I can prove it. I can get 1 stick and 2 sticks. I can do this in 1 grain of sand and another grain of sand. I have 2 grains of sand. I mean, you can do this a million ways, and it's always the same. I know 1 and 1 is 2. But if someone said that, hey, Joe, when you left the house, did you check the back door? I checked the back. I believe I did. In other words, I don't know. I'll be very honest with you. That I don't know if I checked my back door when I left the house. I usually do. It could be open for all I know. I say, now, if my wife asked me, not to look too stupid, I say, oh, yeah, I believe I closed the back door. I like the back door. I stumble like a babbling idiot. I believe I did. Let's go for coffee, And what I'm saying is that, hell, I don't know. And they cross this bridge all the time. There's this big chasm. They go from knowing to understanding, to logical thinking, to believing. And once when it comes to, when people say, I do not discuss 2 subjects, religion and politics, they're talking about the same thing, in a way. It's the same thing in a way, because both are belief systems. And what I am here for, the reason why I pontificate, and I don't have a daily program, because you'd shoot me if I did. I'd leave the station, people would beat up on me, they couldn't take me. But the reason why I do that is because what I'm trying to do is try to make you realize the difference between what we believe and what we should know. And what I do all week is I actually torture myself with these subjects. And I don't know why I do it. I've always done it. I've always questioned everything, and I have no idea why I do that. And the thing is, I'm not even good at it. There are people who are logical and they know how to solve problems. I'm not good at that. What would take them 2 minutes would take me 2 weeks. But once I get there, oh my goodness gracious. I start pontificating. All right, do you know where I'm coming from? I want you to know where I'm coming from.
The Emperor Pompey again. Yeah.
Absolutely. My cousin. Yeah, he's very good. Let me get this phony war on terror. Every time I hear that, I can't stand it, I used to have a full set of hair. It all fell out since the war on terror. I can't stand it anymore. We say the war on terror. We have no idea what we mean. We need something. You understand? We need a war on terror. We need people to believe that. Because, was it Prince Abdul of Jordan hosts a weapons show every year. Yeah, it's called SOFEX, SOFEX. It's called Special Operations Forces Exhibition, SOFEX. I think I got that right for once. Yeah, and
maybe we can bring that to
you can't. Oh, you can't because it's a good idea, but you can't do that because every country around the world. I'm talking about Russia, China, North Korea. Everyone brings their latest weapons to sell. Jeez. Every country's there. And if you want laser guided missiles, it's all there. This stuff is for sale. You want to know why we're at war? Because there's money in it. These people are making a fortune. Now, do you think the government goes, oh, I didn't know Northrop Grumman was over there. Oh, I didn't know those guys were over there selling those missiles. Oh, why didn't somebody? Of course they knew. The whole thing is a sham. They're making billions of dollars, and guess where the billions of dollars is coming from? You guys, because it's part of our national defense. Folks, this situation is so incredibly out of hand, and we don't know it.
What's the percentage of the gross national product? What,
I don't know.
14 or somebody said
Yeah,
14%.
it's a significant percentage. It's not 50%. It's a significant percentage. You know, if the military would literally shut down and just be a Department of Defense, I mean, we would go into a severe depression. And I can tell you this because back in 2001, when things slowed down and right before the war on terror, right, we would go to factories and, you know, we do industrial health testing, my company, and there would be 75 people there normally, 3 shifts and stuff like that. We would go there, there'd be 25, 30 people working there. Why? Because there was no military contracts. And then as soon as the war on terror came, bingo, back to 3 shifts again. I think they would have a significant impact on our manufacturing sector. Not the McDonald's won't get hurt, but the manufacturing sector would get hurt, you know? So, you know, we have this perception, you know, that we're at war when we are not. We have a belief that people from another country that could hardly feed themselves came over here, learned to fly airplanes, to fly them into buildings because they hate our freedom. We actually believe that. Now, folks, when we sit down and really and logically look at it, aren't we embarrassed as a people? And whenever the government talks about 9/11 and the 2 buildings that came down, they lie. 3 buildings came down. There was building number 7. That was a couple blocks away that came down in free fall. And there are pictures of it. Never mentioned. You'd think they would mention it and say, and by the way, I forgot, building number 7 came down. Never mention it because they want to elicit all the emotions that they can from you so that they can perpetrate their wars on terror, which we condone. And because we believe those wars on terror, we believe this, we teach it to our children and our parents and all this other stuff, and our parents watch television, then they feel justified when they vote for a neocon that wants to nuke everybody, and they agree with the teachers who are teaching our kids that what we did was right. You see, and all this is a moral crisis. This, in fact, is the moral crisis. The moral crisis is not something politicians like to talk about. Well, they do. They talk about it, but they never define it. Because if they define the moral crisis, you would find that they are, in fact, at the heart of it. And I think we have to go to break, right? Don't go away. Stay with us. We'll be back. Welcome back to the University of Logic, better known as Cristiano's Conservatory, correcting convoluted conversation. And that also includes our thinking, folks. By the way, I want to give our telephone number out. It's 855-866-1170. If, in fact, you want to make a comment or disagree with me, especially if you want to disagree with me, and I promise I will not holler at you too much. I'm nice to everybody. I really am. I just sound mean, but I'm a hell of a nice guy. Let me ask the people who do it. Am I a nice guy?
Yeah, you're a great guy.
Yeah, they all lie. You know that.
No.
Fear you, oh great emperor.
These clowns
You're a
lie.
little
you know.
weird. You're a little weird, but you're a great guy.
You're weird. Yeah, I know.
No, really, 855.
If you haven't talked to a crazy person lately,
Yeah.
call in.
All right. We're running out of The one word I hate the most, they play that because they know I hate that word. That is indicative of America's mentality. Because here we are in America, and do you know our vocabulary is shrinking? I'm going on another subject now. Our vocabulary is shrinking.
Oh, big time.
Oh, yeah. People say, way, no way, awesome, and that's all we say. It's awesome.
Hey, now I have a question for you. You say you don't want us to call you sir or anything like that. Your eminence.
Yeah.
But can we call you dude?
Only when we're at the ranch.
Oh, okay. All right.
And by the way, my monitor is off again.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, I don't know what's the matter with it.
All right, I'll come and look at it.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, I'd like to hear from you. 855-866-1170. Let me hear from you. 855-866-1170. You know, really, I'd like to hear your comments. Of course, you can send me your email anytime to comments@libertytalkradio.com. Love to hear from you. I will respond to everyone who asked the response. Comments at libertytalkradio.com. And you can find everything that you ever want to know about me and the program on our website, libertytalkradio.com. I don't even know where we are. I'm totally lost. You know, we were talking about this war on terror, and it just.
You're talking about sin.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the sin of the whole thing is we all are guilty.
Yeah. Well, the moral crisis. Thank you. Got me back on the moral. Yeah. And you know, politicians talk about, you know, we have a moral crisis in this country, and I'm here to the moral crisis, and then we vote for him because, you know, he's going to correct the moral crisis. We have no idea what he is talking about because he has no idea what he's talking about. Could you imagine a person running for office? And I ran for office, by the way, for U.S. Congress in the 2000 general election. And let me tell you something. You talk about stuff like this, it scares people. They want to hear the nicety nice stuff. They just want to hear nicety. They don't want to hear the truth. They just want you to confirm what they have learned to believe. Okay, we have a caller, Mark from Tulsa. Okay, Mark, thank you for calling Liberty Talk Radio at 1170 KFAQ. What's on your mind this morning?
I just wanted to say good morning, sire.
Good morning.
Sire! Oh my gosh!
You have beat Obama to the punch on this.
Oh, boy.
It's going to become a movement across the nation.
What's on your mind this morning?
Nothing. That's all I want to do. Just get everybody to get a good laugh.
Giggle.
Okay.
You did it.
Okay, thank you for calling, okay? All right, and you tell all your friends to call and call me Your Eminence. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, that's great.
That was great. That was the best call we've ever had. Just calling.
Mark's pretty cool.
Yeah, and so when we say we have a moral issue, we should say, what do we mean by that? You know, what is a moral crisis? Well, you know, words can mean anything. I want substance, you know.
Sure.
And when I hear people talk about killing other people and almost being giddy about it, I say we have a moral crisis, and it can be corrected, but it could only be corrected if we change, we alter the way we think.
Joe, I don't want to get real religious on you here, but, you know, and you know me, I've got a religious bent about me, and I can't get rid of it. But here's what I see on this, okay? A moral crisis means, in my opinion, that's a political correctness for what the old word that people used to say called sin.
All right, yeah, okay,
It's
yeah.
sin.
That's
You know,
right,
do you
yeah.
hear preachers preaching sin anymore? You know, like thou shalt not kill. I mean, they talk about the Ten Commandments and posting it on the wall and all that kind of stuff, but they support ungodly wars. They support a lot of ungodly stuff. They don't speak about it across their pulpits. Did you know when this country was fought for independence from the King George? Did you know many of the preachers and pastors and people in leadership in the church fought in that war? They weren't pansies. They knew what was wrong, and they
Right.
preached across their pulpits, and they gathered people, and they used to hide the guns in the doggone churches.
I say.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it's a moral issue, yeah, but it's just flat out sin. When you can't see we're killing children in another country and calling it a war against terror, what are those little children, some of those villagers going to do? They're going to come over here and bomb us? That is never going to happen.
Right.
It's there. We just got to see it, and we
Yeah,
got to
right. You know, that word sin, and it isn't. We don't use simple words anymore. You know, we use all politically correct words. But yeah, it is a sin when we go. I saw a video yesterday of our troops engaging
That was the
the enemy.
WikiLeaks. That's the WikiLeaks video.
Yeah, the
That stuff
WikiLeaks.
that-
Yeah,
They're trying to quiet all that down.
And
They don't wanna see
it
it.
is. You can't believe it. I'm not going to go into it, but you cannot believe when you see this thing. I mean, Hollywood couldn't do this. It is so wrong. I don't care what persuasion you're at. I don't care if you believe that we're number one and we have the right to monitor the world and police the world. I don't care. You look at this, it gets you sick. Now, how could you say I support our troops? Now, I support those poor troops
Those
because they're being
guys,
asked.
those individuals, yes.
They're being asked to do something where they inherently know is wrong. When they come back, they wind up blowing their brains out. Yes, I support them. I do not support the orders that they are given by these psychopathic criminals in office.
Yeah.
And of course the generals have to follow the politicians or else they lose their start. It's a big game. Folks, if you look at our country, it's very simple. It's synonymous with what they call human farming. What does a farmer do? A farmer takes care of their flock, right? And the cows and whatever. He inoculates them from disease, and he feeds them a lot, and he gives them a place, a shelter, and the whole bit. And why does the farmer do that? Why? Because he's a nice guy? No. He does that because he is going to make money on the cattle, for example, on his livestock. Right? He is preparing them for slaughter. He wants them nice and fat and happy. So when they cut them up, he gets more money per whatever it is, however they do that. So he wants them, the cattle, to be dependent on him, which they are, rather than being free-range, cattle. He wants them to be dependent on him so he can eventually send them to slaughter so he can make money. Now, what does that sound like? The government wants us to be dependent on them so they can extract from us our labor. They can say, go to work, give me your money, and I'll protect you. Same as, and, okay, thank you. And so that they could profit by it. Not only that, so that they can have the people that they're protecting die at war, going to slaughter. These soldiers are going to slaughter. There is no difference between the two. Let's take a call. Caller, you're on the air.
Hello, Your Eminence.
Oh, thank you. Your first name, please.
Lloyd.
Oh, Lloyd. Okay, Lloyd, thank you for calling Liberty Talk Radio. What's on your mind?
Well, you finally got around beating around the bush till you finally hit on the topic of money backing this stuff.
You don't believe that, Lloyd, do you? Come on.
There's a saying in the Bible: the borrower is servant to the lender, and it's kind of a well-known object that the Federal Reserve and the international bankers, of which the Federal Reserve is a part, their whole object is to load all nations with unpayable debt.
Right.
Now,
Gotcha.
anytime you have kind of like a mafia, which there's very little difference between the mafia and the governments, you have some people that are pretty feeble, but they still have a few assets, and since they have unpayable debt, you want to collect on it.
Right.
And then you, as a mafia, you want everybody to be in debt, and there's a few that don't want to participate in borrowing your money. And so you kind of have a little grudge against them. But then you have one big burly guy that's real healthy and energetic, and he's in debt to you as well. But you don't want to break his legs. You just want to break the legs and take the stuff from the other people. Right. So you get this guy, use him to help kind of pay the interest on his debt, to go around and break the legs. In other words, the energetic guy, he
right.
goes around the world and he sends his drones and his Humvees to collect the debts of the other debtors.
Right. Okay.
And that's basically the money situation. Yeah. Now, they control everything. They control the armies. They control the news media. They control everything.
Absolutely.
It's a system.
It's
evil system.
It makes sense. I mean, it goes full circle. When I managed a department at a large, fully integrated oil company, I used to get everyone together, and I used to ask everyone, "Would you please go full circle on your problem? Tell me what the problem." But go for, and I just say, go full circle. So you start with something and then you end. In big companies, they start. It's like the government. You start something. Halfway through, you stop, and then you come up with some erroneous conclusion, and then you do something wasteful. But you did a great job, Lloyd. I mean, that's absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. That's very, very clear.
Yeah, there's a book that come out a long time ago that kind of explains this pretty well, and it was called "None Dare Call It Conspiracy."
Ah, that's an interesting.
That sounds good.
Yeah, it sounds very good.
Yeah, it was by Gary Allen, and I think they're starting to reprint it in new form now. But I mean, it's the same book, but they're starting to reprint it. But None Dare Call It Conspiracy.
Would you write that down, please? I'm having my wife is with me this morning. Believe it or not, she doesn't trust me. That's why.
Yeah, but it explains what has been going on, and it's the message has been out there that you can. I'll just say it's a very small book. It's only like 140, 150 pages, something like that. But it'll tell anyone listening, if they get that book, they'll have a very good explanation of how this whole circle, as you call it, works. And because you were speaking on the fact that we have people to blame and assigning blame to people that go and kill. Well, whenever you finally figure out the whole circle, they're just kind of caught up with they got the mafia guys, saying we're going to burn your house down if you don't buy our product.
Right. Lloyd, you made an excellent, logical comment. And if you don't have a Liberty Talk Radio T-shirt, you send me an email to comments@libertytalkradio.com with your T-shirt size and a mailing address. I want to shoot one right out to you, okay? So you can walk around and be.
I've got one already.
You do? Okay, very good. All right. Well, Lloyd, thank you very much. We have to break, believe it or not. I thank you so much for calling, and your comments are well taken. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep.
I think we're back. Mentally or physically, I think we're back. I'm not sure which one it is. I want to say something about our sponsors. Folks, our sponsors not only are mentioned on this program because they want you to use their services rather than somebody else's. Let's be honest. But they're all high-quality people, companies. I use every one of them. Every time that I can, every way that I can. They support me, I support them, and you should support them as well because they support you.
Can I say that I had a friend of mine go to McCool Firearms and had a gun redone, and he was very pleased with
great.
what
They are really, really good.
He said the guy it was a 1937 Colt revolver that he took over to McCool Firearms, and he said it was great.
Yeah, and these people you can go to and work with. They're not just trying to sell you something and slam, bam, get the hell out. They are really good. Folks, but what you need to understand, I really would like for you to understand, is that these sponsors of this program are supporting not so much the program, but they're supporting your rights to freedom. And by going someplace else, that's not a good deal for your freedom. Because they are supporting your rights to freedom. You should support them. And I mean that sincerely. And that's McCool's Firearms, Custom Embroidery and More by Rose, Alltech. We have the, which one? Jenks, I guess Jenks.
Nutrition?
Nutrition.
Health and nutrition?
Yeah, nutrition.
Ranch
wonderful.
Acres.
I know Ranch Acres Audiology for your hearing. These people all support.
Don't forget
Go Liberty Food. Don't forget that.
Go Liberty Foods. If you need foods to have on the side, and everyone should, go to Go Liberty Foods. Okay, and really do so. I mean that sincerely. I use them. You should use them. We should all support each other. We have to become a community, and that community has to include everything that we do. Not
if
just
we want
talk.
to support the Chinese, could we go to Walmart?
Right.
There
Absolutely.
you go.
Absolutely. You want to support the Chinese, the Republic of China, go to Walmart. Unfortunately, every place you go today, you're supporting the Republic of China. All right. I'd like to get back on this two-party system, on this human farming. There is always a certain amount of tension kept out in the fields of the cattle, and that's to distract the cattle from turning on the owner. That's right, exactly. You see, and it's the same thing here. The government wants to maintain us to have a certain amount of tension against each other as a distraction so that we don't turn on them. How do they do that? The two-party system. Folks, it is a beautiful system. I mean, if you're a con man, you couldn't have done better. They want to make sure that the Republicans and the Democrats are always at odds and that you sign up to be either Republican or a Democrat because we are a two-party system country. Whatever the heck that's supposed to mean, that we're not a two-party system government at all. But they make you believe that. So there's a certain amount of tension held between Republicans and Democrats to keep their eye off the real enemy, and that is the central government itself. And look what happened when Ron Paul really started to gain traction. You never heard of the guy. The guy, it's like he wasn't running. I mean, like Mother Teresa was running. You never heard his name anywhere. And all of the news broadcasts would talk about Romney and Obama and all this other stuff, but they would never, ever, very rarely even mention Ron Paul. In fact, in one case, he came out, I think, second or third on one of the polls, and they mentioned the person that came out first and third, but they wouldn't even mention his name.
That's right. Remember that. Yeah.
I mean, it's a rigged system, folks. They want you to be tense. They want you to be, I don't like the guy next door. He's a Republican. He's a Democrat. Whatever the case may be, to keep your eye off the real enemy.
Just like that promo there that we played. It's like Peter Finch says, they want you to be a tube.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And talk about the tube. What do you? It's amazing. I watch television only late at night before I go to bed, and I sit there and I stare at it. I watch porn stars and I watch the drag races. I mean, that's what I do. That's my wife. She says,
Pawn.
Yeah,
Pawn.
The way your accent kind of makes it sound like porn stars. Got to make sure Phil is pawn stars.
Maybe I wish it was porn stars. Okay. With Chumley and those guys, But I enjoy watching those things. But when you look at it, whenever I channel surf, it's difficult today to get a station, to get a program. What do you get? A commercial. And we're being sold constantly. We're being sold stuff. There's very little substance. And then every once in a while, I'll go to a situation comedy, and they are so stupid. I mean, they are so dumb. You have these, out of work young people in their 20s. They have no job, no nothing.
Living with their parents.
No, they're not. They're living. Where they're living is in a penthouse in New York.
That's right.
Costs $8,000 a month. They have no job. But they have a great. And then they go out at night and they go to these swanky restaurant bar type places and have a great time, have a great meal, and are always laughing. And then what I really love, what really is the pudding on the cake, or the icing on a cake, is that the dubbed in laughter. You know what? If you ever become conscious of it, I mean, watch any program, but just sit there and then time the dubbed in laughter. They'll say something, and once you become conscious of it, it drives you crazy.
But that's been around for a while, though.
Oh, yeah, a long time. But we're so conditioned to it, we don't hear it anymore. And we are so conditioned to the Republican, Democrat, stupidity. We can't think about it anymore. We think as that's the way it's supposed to be. Just like when you watch a stupid situation comedy on TV, you don't hear the laughter anymore because that's the way it should be. We think the way it should be is that we should have a two-party system, and that's the only way. God made it that way, and we can't change that.
I wish you had a button we could push during the news that we could make it laugh because.
Yeah, put laugh tracks in news. Yeah, that'd be funny.
What would be great is to have someone on the side who a rebuttal to the news every night. Think of that. Have a rebuttal to the news. What do you think about that?
I think that'd be fabulous. It would allow people to have a little bit broader mind and not be led down the primrose path by the media.
I want a laugh button. I
like the laugh button idea.
The thing is,
that's a good one.
When people ever think that every war that we fight is always fought 7,000 miles or more away from our country. Think about that. Every war is always 7,000 miles away because it's out of sight, out of mind. The government can tell us anything that they want to tell us, and we'll support that war. If it was too close, then it gets too close for comfort.
A little dicey then, isn't it?
Yeah, and what the predictions are from those people who understand what this war is truly doing is that someday these wars are going to be brought home.
Too late.
And it's going to be too late for us. And just like on 9/11, that war was brought home to us. And folks, you have to understand, 9/11 was not a terrorist attack. It was revenge. It was I got you back. That's what it was for. For decades of occupation, for decades of people being subjugated by dictators propped up militarily by the United States. We wouldn't tolerate that. We wouldn't tolerate that in Canada, and we wouldn't tolerate that in Mexico or Central America. We wouldn't tolerate that anywhere near us. But yet, we support that paradigm overseas. Folks, the most important thing that we can do is start thinking. Really thinking and say, does this truly make sense? And you'll find that most of what we think we know is a belief and holds no water. The sorrowful part about that is that it's scary. It requires a neurological eruption within us, an epiphany, to come to that conclusion. And it's not pretty. It's not pretty at all. In fact, it's literally painful. I want to leave you with that note, folks. And because this is the end, believe it or not, of today's broadcast. And we'd like to thank our sponsors for their financial support, and we'd like to thank you for listening in. You can further the cause of liberty by recommending this program to your friends and let us hear from you. Our email address is comments@libertytalkradio.com. Folks, it's time for us to take back control of our government now before this bureaucratic, oversized, and self-serving federal government starves us of our property, our freedom, our rights, and our liberty. To do this, we must shed conventional thinking regarding our political structure. We need to be revolutionaries in thought, dissidents in action. Only after we recognize what our government is doing to our freedom and our Constitution will we start taking it back. And this is what this program is all about. Thank you.